Buongiorno a tutti! Hello everyone! Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Valentina Stella, native Italian teacher, and in today's video I'm going to share with you 50 essential Italian phrases to use when you are at the cafe in Italy. So this is a new format on my channel that I'm trying out, and my goal is to share with you some top phrases that you need for real life. So for real life situations when you are in Italy, like for example going at the cafe, at the restaurant, going grocery shopping, all those kind of phrases that you need for real life situations and that you need to know if you're learning Italian. So I'm going to guide you through these sentences. I'm going to show you the actual phrase on the screen with a slide, and I'm also going to read them aloud for you, so you will be able to learn them in the correct way, both as for the spelling, the actual wording and order of the words, and the pronunciation. And as always, if you want, you can follow along and repeat aloud after me. You're very welcome to practice these with me. Also, I'm going to give you some explanations on those typical Italian things or expressions that may not translate in completely or totally in English. And in this way, you will be able to understand what we're actually saying, why we're saying it, and you will be able to adapt those sentences and customize them to your own specific needs and requests. So let me know if you like this new format and if you would like to see more of these videos. I'm thinking, if you like them, to make more, as I told you before, for these typical situations like grocery shopping, being at an hotel, going to a restaurant, all those typical situations that you will encounter or may have already encountered when visiting Italy. So without further ado, let's go through these sentences together. So let's start with the first typical situation when you're at a cafe, which is how to order a coffee in Italian. So if you want to say good morning, I would like a coffee, that in Italian would be buongiorno, vorrei un caffè. Now notice how vorrei is a standard expression for when you want to ask something to someone, if you want to sound polite. Technically, we are not saying I would like. We are saying I would want. Vorrei means I would want. But that's how you would say I would like in this context in Italian. And of course, you can use vorrei with anything. So in this case, we have a coffee. Vorrei un caffè. But you can swap a coffee for anything else, and this sentence will still be correct. So remember, vorrei is one of the ways you can ask for something in Italian in a polite, kind way. Next, we have another example sentence, another way you can say, or you can ask for something in Italian. A long coffee, please. Un caffè lungo, per favore. So, this is an important point that I always want to point out. I always point out with my students. There's not just one way of saying anything in any language, and Italian is not an exception. So you probably have already heard vorrei in other contexts, because that's very common. But that's not the only way you can ask for something and still sound polite. Here you have another way. You can just say what you want, un caffè lungo, for example, but add per favore to sound polite. And that's exactly like in English. You don't only have one way of asking for something, you have multiple. So remember, you can just state what you want and add please, per favore, and that will be perfectly fine. Un caffè lungo, per favore. Same structure, different request. A cappuccino, please. Un cappuccino, per favore. I would like a decaf, Thank you. Vorrei un caffè decaffeinato. Grazie. Now, notice how we are reusing the structure we already saw for another sentence. So this is what I'm going to do through these sentences. We're going to see that many structures, many forms kind of repeat. And by repeating them, you're going to absorb them more effectively. Here's another way of asking for something in Italian. You can ask, can I have? That's perfectly fine in Italian. That's perfectly polite. So, for example, can I have an americano? Posso avere un caffè americano? So remember, even this phrase is customizable. If you want to ask for something else, just ask, posso avere, can I have, and then add whatever you would like to have. A cold coffee in a glass, please. Un caffè freddo al vetro. Grazie. Here's another way, and this is different from English. I want you to notice this because this is something I always point out with my students. In English, you often use the form I'll have when ordering. So you use the verb to have for ordering food or drinks. We never ever use avere, which is the translation of to have. So we never use avere for food and drinks. Avere is not used in that way in Italian. Avere is have got, cannot be used for food and drinks like for ordering. So what do we use instead? We use prendere, to take. So instead of saying I will have, we literally say I take. That's what we're saying. This is something that's different between English and Italian, and I wanted to point it out and I want you to notice this. So never ever use avere for food and drinks when ordering. Instead, use prendere. So here's how to say I will have an espresso with soy milk in Italian. Prendo un caffè macchiato con latte di soia. Caffè macchiato is a special coffee in Italy, a specific type of coffee in Italy, which is an espresso with added milk. It can be regular milk or, like in this case, soy milk. But macchiato literally means stained. It's a kind of a curiosity. Macchiato is an adjective that means stained. So it's like we are staining the coffee with a little bit of milk. And that's an espresso with milk in Italian. Un caffè macchiato. Maybe I should make a video on the different types of coffee too. If you want to ask which coffee do you recommend, quale caffè mi consiglia? Perfetto. Now, another very common situation at the bar, at the cafe, the Italian bar, is ordering breakfast. So let's see how to do that. I would like a coffee and a croissant, please. Vorrei un caffè e un cornetto, per favore. Molto bene. A cappuccino and a cream-filled croissant. Thank you. Un cappuccino e un cornetto alla crema. Grazie. So see, we're reusing different forms because there are plenty of ways of asking for things and they are all correct. I'll have a long coffee and a chocolate croissant. Prendo un caffè lungo e un cornetto al cioccolato. And a long coffee it's not a double espresso, it's an espresso that has more water. So more water has been poured into the coffee. So that's what a caffè lungo is. I would like an espresso with milk and an almond croissant. So we already know all these pieces so far, and we are just going to put them together. I would like, vorrei, an espresso with milk. You learned that's caffè macchiato in Italy. And croissant is cornetto. And then you add what the main flavor of the cornetto is. So all putting everything together, we have this sentence. Vorrei un caffè macchiato e un cornetto alle mandorle. A decaf and a plain croissant, please. Un caffè decaffeinato e un cornetto vuoto. Grazie. Notice that plain croissant in Italian is cornetto vuoto, which literally means empty croissant. That's how we say a plain croissant. We say an empty croissant because there's no filling. Un cornetto vuoto. Okay, I would like a barley coffee and a let's start again. I would like a barley coffee and a whole wheat croissant. Vorrei un caffè d'orzo e un cornetto integrale. And if you have no idea what a barley coffee is, and probably if you're not from Europe, you have no idea what that is, that's a coffee-like drink that has no caffeine in it because it's made from barley, from the grain, and was very popular during the wars because people didn't have money to buy proper coffee. So they would have these and other substitutes for coffee that look like coffee. They actually taste like coffee, but it's not coffee and doesn't have any caffeine. So if you've never tried that, give it a try next time you come to Italy. Caffè d'orzo. I'll have an Americano and a chocolate swirl. What did we say about have when ordering food and drinks in Italian? We never use avere, so we will use prendere. Prendo un caffè americano e una girella al cioccolato. And I also put a picture of the girella for you to show what it is if you have never tried that. We have a huge assortment of pastry for breakfast in Italy. Give it a try. Can I have a cold coffee and a pistachio croissant? Thank you. Posso avere un caffè freddo e un cornetto al pistacchio? Grazie. Notice that we pronounce pistacchio, pistacchio, because H makes sounds hard always in Italian. And I have a video on that, so please have a look at that if you haven't, on the correct pronunciation of the C in Italian. I would like a ginseng coffee and a cream-filled swirl. Vorrei un caffè al ginseng e una girella alla crema. Can I have a spiked coffee and a chocolate muffin, please? Posso avere un caffè corretto e un muffin al cioccolato, per favore? Now, believe it or not, caffè corretto is a thing in Italy. So it's an espresso with a little bit of liquor in it. And some people like it. So that's an option in Italian caffè. I'll have a long coffee with soy milk and a jam-filled bombolone. Prendo un caffè lungo macchiato con latte di soia e un bombolone con la marmellata. And bombolone is the pastry that I showed you in this picture. It's a big pastry that can be filled with anything you want. Like, for example, marmellata. Okay, now let's talk about ordering drinks. I would like a tea, please. Vorrei un tè, per favore. Can I have a glass of water, please? Posso avere un bicchiere d'acqua, per cortesia? So as you can see, we're repeating all the possible ways of asking for something in a polite way, like vorrei, like posso avere, or like prendo. Now, in this phrase, I want you to notice that I use another form of please. For sure you know per favore, because that's the first one that's taught. But we have other ways of saying please. Per cortesia is another way of asking please in Italian. Per cortesia. What kind of fruit juices do you have? Che tipo di succhi di frutta avete? Now, something I want you to notice from this phrase is that I'm using avete. Do you plural have? So I'm using voi. Why am I doing that? Well, because in general, when you speak with someone in a business, like in a shop or in a restaurant, we use voi instead of tu or lei, because like we're referring to the whole business, so all the people, all the staff who work in that place. So that's why I'm using plural you, voi. I would like to order an orange juice. Vorrei ordinare una spremuta d'arancia. I would like a beer, thank you. Vorrei una birra. Grazie. I'll have a glass of red wine, thank you. Prendo un bicchiere di vino rosso. Grazie. Can I have a bottle of water, please? Posso avere una bottiglia d'acqua, per favore? Molto bene. So now let's talk about how to order food at a bar, at a cafe in Italian. I would like a ham and cheese sandwich. Vorrei un panino al prosciutto e formaggio. Can I have a tuna and mayonnaise sandwich? Posso avere un tramezzino al tonno e maionese? So now you probably noticed that I use the word tramezzino. What's the difference between panino and tramezzino? Tramezzino is the actual sandwich, so the one with the softer bread, and that has a typical triangle shape. That's a tramezzino in Italian. So if you want a sandwich that has a triangle shape and it's made of soft bread, ask for a tramezzino. If instead you want a classical panino with the classical Italian bread, ask for panino. Va bene? A vegetarian sandwich with grilled vegetables, please. Un panino vegetariano con verdure grigliate. Grazie. I'll have a sandwich with prosciutto crudo and mozzarella. Thank you. Prendo un tramezzino al prosciutto crudo e mozzarella. Grazie. I would like a salami and cheese sandwich, please. Vorrei un panino al salame e formaggio. Grazie. Can I have a sandwich with pesto and tomato, please? Posso avere un tramezzino al pesto e pomodoro, per favore? Now, something else you can do in many Italian bar or cafes is ordering ice cream. Many of them have an ice cream section. So let's see how to order an Italian ice cream. I would like an ice cream, please. Vorrei un gelato, per favore. It's starting to make sense, right? So you know what you're doing now. We're just putting everything together and repeating the forms that we have learned so far, with just different items and different things that you want to order. I'll have a medium cup. Prendo una coppetta media. So in Italy, you can have ice cream, gelato, in a cone or in a cup. And for the cup, we have different sizes. I would recommend a medium one to start with. I'll have a cone with chocolate, pistachio and whipped cream. Prendo un cono con cioccolato, pistacchio e panna. And please notice that when we have ice cream, gelato in Italy, we never ever just take one flavor. We always take at least 2 flavors and we often top that with whipped cream. So please order Italian gelato the Italian way. Have at least 2 flavors. I would like a medium cup with lemon and stracciatella, please. Vorrei una coppetta media con limone e stracciatella, per favore. And if you don't know what stracciatella is a milk-based ice cream with chocolate shaving, so very good and very typical Italian flavor for gelato. What fruit flavors do you have? Che gusti alla frutta avete? Perfetto. Notice that I'm using avete again. Do you have as in voi avete, do you plural. And I explained that before, that's because you are talking to a business and so we use voi when talking with someone who's working for a business. Do you have any milk-free flavors? So if you have any sensitivities, if you cannot have some kind of foods, this is the sentence to learn. We don't use milk-free. We say without milk. And the same applies to any other intolerance. So this is the form that you want to use. Senza means without plus the ingredient that you want to avoid. So let's see how these work in a sentence. Avete dei gusti senza latte? Molto bene. Okay, and now let's cover some requests and information that you may have when being at a cafe in Italy. If you want to ask, do you have a menu in English? Avete un menù in inglese? Okay. How much does a sandwich cost? Quanto costa un panino? Perfetto. Now, as we have seen before with the other phrases, even quanto costa is something that you can use for whatever you want to ask how much it is. So just remember, quanto costa means how much does it cost? And then you add the thing that you want to ask for. So in this instance, quanto costa un panino? But it could be quanto costa un caffè or anything else. What do you recommend for lunch? Cosa mi consigliate da mangiare per pranzo? Do you have any vegetarian options? Avete delle opzioni vegetariane? Do you have any vegan options? Avete delle opzioni vegane? And please, by any means, if you have specific requests like this, like you are a vegetarian or a vegan or you cannot have some foods, please ask, because nowadays Italy is very, like, we have a lot of options, vegan options, vegetarian options, gluten-free options, so it's important to learn how to ask for those. So vegan or vegetarian, whatever options is opzioni, and then you add the type, so opzioni vegane or opzioni vegetariane. But if you want something like that's gluten-free or milk-free, remember to use senza, without, and then the thing that you want to avoid. For example, senza latte. Do you have any gluten-free desserts? Avete dei dolci senza glutine? Perfetto. Now on to paying. Do you accept credit cards? Accettate la carta di credito? How much do I have to pay in total? Quanto devo pagare in totale? Can I have the bill, please? Posso avere il conto, per favore? Can I have some sugar, please? Posso avere un po' di zucchero, per favore? Where is the bathroom? Dov'è il bagno? Can I have a paper napkin, please? Posso avere un tovagliolo di carta, per favore? Okay, guys, that's all for today. These were the 50 essential Italian phrases for when you are at a cafe in Italy. I hope you like this video. I hope you like this format. If you do, please let me know with a comment below the video. Let me know if you want to see more of these, and let me know what you like more. If you like it, I will make more about other typical Italian situations in Italy, real life situations like today's. Okay, guys, that's all for today. Have a great day, buona giornata, and have a great practice. Buona pratica. Alla prossima. See you next time.